It's hard to believe that it's already been 3 months since Sony released this guy, the PlayStation Portal, and in that period it's left a lot of time dragging, which is exactly why we take a deep dive into the $329 question for those in Australia, $200 in the US, just to see if it's really worth it. Buckle up and let's go for the ride. First things first, for those who don't know what the PlayStation Portal is, I'll bring you up to speed. The PlayStation Portal in essence is a remote play accessory for your PS5, and to break it down even further, what Sony basically did is cut the DualSense controller in half, attach the 1080p screen in the middle, resulting in this, which allows you to play away from your TV over Wi-Fi. Now, by no means is this concept a novelty. We first saw something almost similar on the likes of the PSP, PS Vita, and then on our computers and mobile phones. At first glance, it easily passes as a cloud gaming handheld like the Steam Deck or ROG Ally, but unlike those two, it caps off at remote play, which is the perfect segue to its use case. Now, when it comes to use case, it can fit different scenarios, and by far the one liked by most gamers out there is the ability to still play while the TV is being used for something else. For instance, if my little nephews and nieces come over and wanted to use the TV, I could easily play in my dining area or home office without any issues. It also saves you luggage space and a few kilos, especially if you're one of those who carry their consoles when traveling out of town, but there's a catch. More on that a little later in the video. With a brief history aside, the next obvious thing is how to turn it on and off. Good thing, it's no rocket science. Once you press the power button, if your console is on, it will automatically connect only if you've enabled remote play, and once you're done using it, you can do three of the following. Either turn off your portal, disconnect it from your PS5, or shut down your PS5 altogether. In my experience, I've found disconnecting it to be the best as it allows me to put my PS5 into rest mode. Moving along, having used it a decent number of times over the last 2 months, the build and build quality is definitely quite premium. When it comes to design, like mentioned earlier, it's basically a DualSense controller split in half with a screen in the middle and the touchpad moved to the lower part of the screen. As for the buttons, there's a slight reshuffle and I had to readjust in the early days using the PlayStation Home and Share buttons on the left, the menu and mute buttons to the right. Then, when playing games, my decent sized mids had to adapt to using the joysticks, which are a tad bit smaller. Other than that, I like the placement of the power button, which automatically falls in line with the placement of my hands, and at no given time have I fiddled trying to turn it on as my index finger naturally lands on it. The placement of the volume buttons on the right side was also well thought out for the same reason, and the fact that it can get quite loud, this is a must-have, especially if you're playing in a public space and don't have compatible headphones or earbuds, which is another area of contention, but more on that in just a little bit. When it comes to the display, the 1080p glossy LCD screen has been fun to navigate, whether it's with the buttons or the touch interface of the touchpad, and to add to that, despite being an LCD screen, the text and video clarity is really impressive. The one thing I haven't liked about the glossy feature is its prone to reflections when hit by a light source. Moving along, with the structural part out of the way, the next obvious thing would be the user interface. Given that it's essentially your PS5 interface cast on a display via internet connection, it's been absolute child's play toying around with the controls, and even if you're a novice when it comes to handhelds, it won't take you long to learn how to navigate. The only thing I've found challenging to adapt to is the touchpad, which appears on the bottom corners of the screen. As for the latency, that's dependent on how good your internet connection is, although the fact that it comes with Wi-Fi 5 is a bit of a bummer given that Sony had the choice to set it up with Wi-Fi 6, which offers better speeds, improved signal performance, lower latency, among many other things, but still chose to use Wi-Fi 5. Speaking of Wi-Fi, it would be the perfect segue to talk about gameplay since it's essentially the puppet master who pulls the string on the portal, and it's also where the catch I talked about earlier comes into the picture. Getting into it, as you might have already picked up, the purpose of the PlayStation Portal is to allow you to play away from your setup, more so if your main setup is being used by your kids, nephews, cousins, etc, and for it to work, your PlayStation has to either be on or on rest mode. From personal experience, when playing in my living room and dining area, I haven't had any signal problems, but when I moved to my home office, which is the farthest point of the house, that's where I've encountered some problems with the video feed, which begs the question, how does it work outside the house? To be honest, that's where the bottleneck completely sticks out, and in my case, I felt as though I was in the middle of nowhere with no reception as I could barely do anything. I also tried to hotspot it, but it still wasn't the best experience. Connectivity aside, back to where it really thrives, when holding it while playing, it feels super ergonomic, and playing games like FIFA, NBA 2K, Astro's Playroom, the haptic feedback you get is so satisfying. On the flip side, one thing that I wish actually worked was cloud gaming, but that's not possible since it's only remote play, which got me thinking, if Sony opened it up to cloud gaming, it's got the potential to cause some ripples in the handheld gaming market. And while on the subject of gameplay, we might as well talk about how it handles the fan overheating and fan noise. During the 3 months I've had it, this has been almost non-existent since all the heavy lifting is done by your console. When it comes to media consumption, at first I thought I'd be able to remotely stream Netflix, watch videos on YouTube, and even use the internet while seated at a cafe or even at an outdoor park, but to my dismay, none of that is possible as its only use case is remote play, which to be honest is such a disappointment. In saying that, there's a workaround to enable you access the browser. By going to settings, clicking on account, then security and scrolling down to LAN, a browser pops up, but given the connectivity issues, it won't be the best user experience, especially if your Wi-Fi or hotspot signal isn't the strongest. Moving along, another important aspect to talk about would be battery life, and having used it a fair bit over the past 3 months, I've run it flat a few times, and in my estimation, I've been getting anywhere between 5 to 7 hours of battery life, which is almost similar to the DualSense controller. One thing I haven't particularly enjoyed in this department is the fact that it uses bars to tell you the battery level, and even though some people might find this okay, it's quite challenging to tell the exact battery percentage. As for compatibility with accessories like headphones, mobile phones, computers, etc, the PlayStation Portal is somewhat locked in the PlayStation ecosystem, as you can only use the Pulse Elite headset or the Pulse Explore earbuds because they are the only devices which support PlayStation Link. When I talked about connection to the Pulse Explore headset and Elite earbuds being an area of contention, this is exactly what I meant, and as if that's not enough, over here in Australia, the Pulse Explore earbuds cost as much as the Portal itself, coming in at 329 Australian dollars, while the Pulse Elite headset costs 239 Australian dollars.
Just like they usually say, there's no way that math is nothing.
Another reason why you can't connect your normal headset is because the Portal doesn't have Bluetooth capabilities, but like they say, every dark cloud has a silver lining, and in the case of the Portal, it's got a 3.5mm jack port, so you can connect any other headphones that support that. If you own the AirPods Max like me and don't have a lightning to 3.5mm jack cable, you'll have to contend with the 2 upward firing speakers, which are decent at the very least, and in case you were wondering how they sound, here's a sound test. With the bare bones of the PlayStation Portal completely laid out, the $329 question, is it really worth it, begs to be answered. In my opinion, its limitations when it comes to compatibility with other devices due to lack of Bluetooth support, the connectivity issues, the use of Wi-Fi 5, and the fact that it's only remote play at this point doesn't warrant you spending 329 Australian dollars. In saying that, the subset of people who might find the PlayStation Portal helpful are those who live in a household where getting hold of the TV remote is an absolute cutthroat business, if you know what I mean. And that's because with the PlayStation Portal, they can step away from the chaos, whether it's in the dining area, bedroom, home office, or whatever room of their choice, and enjoy their favorite games. Other than that, I don't see any reason why you should buy the PlayStation Portal until Sony opens up those features that handicaps its use case. Well, there you have it, peeps. I hope you enjoyed and found this video helpful, and as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. Here's another long-term review of a Sony device that you'll definitely enjoy. Until then, people of the internet, I'm signing out. See you on the next one.